You know, a White House executive order can seem, well, pretty dense. It's usually packed with all this legal jargon. But the one that just dropped about TikTok, it's actually got a really fascinating story to tell. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to decode this official document, piece by piece, to find out what it really says. We'll look at why a simple delay is about so much more than just time, and what this all means for the future of the app. So it really all boils down to this one question, right? We've all seen the headlines flying around, but what did the White House actually do? What does this official order really command? All right, let's dive into the details. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll break it down into four parts. First up, the main directive. What's the core of this thing? Then we'll get into the Attorney General's to-do list, how they're going to make it all happen. After that, we'll uncover this really interesting assertion of executive power. And finally, we'll wrap up with the legal fine print, the boilerplate stuff. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. This is really the absolute heart of the document. So, what's the single most important thing this order actually does? And here it is, plain and simple. This is the core of the whole order. The government is officially, well, they're pressing the pause button on that law that targets apps like TikTok. But, this isn't some indefinite pause. No, the order sets a very, very specific new deadline for this delay. And that date is December 16th, 2025. So you might be asking, what exactly is being delayed here? Well, it's this thing called the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. It's basically the law that gives the president really broad power to go after apps that are seen as a national security risk. So this entire order is really about controlling when, and maybe more importantly, how that power gets used. And this just fundamentally changes the whole situation. I mean, before this order came out, enforcement deadlines were right around the corner. But now, the clock is officially frozen. No action until late 2025. Okay, so an order is just words on a piece of paper until someone actually has to carry it out, right? So how is this delay actually being put into practice? Well, the document gives a very specific to-do list to the Attorney General. And the document is super clear about this. It basically hands the Attorney General a three-step mission. Step 1, issue formal written guidance to make this delay official policy. Step 2, send out letters to providers, making it clear they have no liability. And Step 3, and this is a big one, defend the federal government's exclusive power to enforce this law. And get this, it isn't just about what happens from now on. The order actually looks backward, too. It says no penalties can be applied for anything that happened before this new deadline. It's basically a retroactive clean slate, pretty significant. All right, now we get to what I think is the most fascinating part of this whole document. Because if you look beneath the surface of what seems like a simple timeline extension, this order is making a really powerful statement about who's in charge. It's about way more than just an app. It's about authority. And it does this by drawing a very clear line in the sand about who gets to enforce this law. And here is that line, and we've pulled it directly from the text. The White House is basically arguing that this is a matter of national security. And because of that, only the federal government can enforce the act. Any attempt by states or anyone else to do so is considered an encroachment on executive power. That's some strong language. So yeah, the message here is crystal clear. All that enforcement power is being centralized. According to this order, the authority to act on this law rests exclusively with the federal executive branch. Period. Full stop. Okay, and finally, let's quickly touch on Section 4, what's called the general provisions. Pretty much every executive order has a section like this. Think of it as the legal framework, the stuff that makes sure the order plays nice with the existing system of laws. These are kind of the standard but really important rules of the road. They basically make sure the order doesn't override other laws or suddenly create new reasons for people to file lawsuits or mess with any agency budgets. It's that legal fine print that makes the whole document official and buttoned up. So, let's bring this all together, shall we? The what? What does the order do? It delays the TikTok Act until late 2025. The how? How does it do it? By giving the Attorney General a very clear set of tasks. And, I think most importantly, the why. Why is this more than just a delay? Because it firmly asserts that only the federal executive branch has the power to enforce this law. And all of this leaves us with a much bigger question to think about. Remember, this was all done by an executive order, not an act of Congress. And as technology and national security become more and more inseparable, you really have to ask, how are these kinds of powerful executive actions going to continue to shape the balance of power, not just between federal and state governments, but in our digital world as a whole? It's something to keep an eye on for sure.